Yes, I know where it is today. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body-mind expert, and I'm a shiatsu massage therapist. And what I do is I help women who are in narcissistic and toxic relationships figure out how their body works. I help them figure out why they're so stressed, and not just intellectually, but how to make the changes in their body, which to me is one of the missing pieces of toxic relationships and mental health, is women learning how to actually make their nervous system and make their body feel better. So I'm Rita Hickman, body-mind expert, shiatsu massage therapist. That's what I do. So today we're talking about how a narcissist gets you trapped into a relationship. If you are in a narcissistic relationship, you know it's pretty crazy. And you're asking yourself quite often, how the hell did I get here? How the hell did I end up in a relationship with someone who's clearly off their rocker? You know, and you ask yourself those things. And when you start to get answers, this is what you hear. A narcissist is very, very good at reading you. They've got the ability to see what people are thinking, to see what moves them, to see what drives them, and they're constantly testing. They're constantly finding the things that will give them a sense of control. So a lot of times at the beginning of a narcissist relationship, there'll be a lot of attention given because it's more like a predator stalking prey. And so they're going to learn everything they can about you. They're going to learn your likes, your dislikes, your family. They're going to gather all of this information. So, of course, they're never going to seem like a narcissist. We all assume that a narcissist or a toxic person, they'll have a sign on their back. They'll have a bad hair toupee. They'll be like a used car salesman. They'll be easy to spot. You know, they're arrogant. They walk through life as if they own it. You know, that's what we think we're going to see when we meet a narcissist. But in reality, a narcissist is much more savvy. When someone lives in a place of fight or flight all the time, when they feel unsafe, and their coping tool is to kind of manipulate and control things around them in order to feel better, that's their gig. That's what they do. They've been doing this their entire life. There's someone who something happened when they were small, or maybe their brain was always dysregulated, and it made them feel this need to control everything. You may know a lot of women who are like that. A lot of mothers are actually like that. Surprisingly, we always think of narcissists as fathers, but you know, there's so many mothers that are that self-absorbed. Good morning, Julianne. Nice to see you. You know, it doesn't really play favorites, but I like to work, you know, with women around those issues because for me, they're just a lot easier and nicer to work with many times. There isn't any of that weird dynamic. I don't have a narcissist stalking me. So, you know, narcissists, toxic people who deal with the world by manipulating it, they've been doing this since day one. They've been doing it since they were children. So by the time they meet you, by the time you're in a relationship with them, they're very good at this. And they're able to use their tried and true method of getting to know people, asking questions, digging deeper, being curious, giving you amazing experiences, over-the-top experiences that make you think, you know what? This might be exactly the storybook, whatever, that I've been reading about. So they're able to, because this is how they cope with their stress, by controlling everyone else around them, they're able to find out your tells. They're able to learn how to read you. They're able to learn how to push your buttons. One of the things, though, that a narcissist doesn't understand is you are deeper than your surface. You know, many times a narcissist gets surprised that there's a lot more going on with women. There's a lot more depth. There's a lot more than they assume. And that's actually some of the ways that you'll find your way out, is you'll realize that you have more depth than they see. But at the beginning, they'll behave like every wonderful storybook romance. And it's just beautiful to see, you know, because people are caught up in the drama of it. So we end up with this attachment. We reflect on people and we say, aha, this is the person that matches the storybook character. This is the person that matches Prince Charming. Now, have you ever watched the show Into the Woods? Into the Woods is a play, a Broadway play about what happens after the fairy tales end. And what happens is the Prince Charming, of course, is someone who is less princely, which is the relationship you're probably in now. Someone who's more aggressive, more assertive, more looking out for their own well-being. So we get in these relationships because of that initial rush of feeling connected, that initial rush of having all of our fantasies and all of our dreams come true. And that's one of the first ways that we get hooked. And we keep going back to that. What if? Maybe it could be like that again. Now, a narcissist isn't necessarily a bad person. It's someone who's behaving in a narcissistic way. It's someone who's looking out for their best interest. And some people, like possibly some of the relationships you have, this is just sort of their personality trait. This is how they go through the world. How can I pull this string? How can I pull that string? What can I find out about this person? I would imagine most blackmailers are narcissists because they just don't really care about the person that they're hurting. So we end up getting trapped in a relationship partially because that big romantic love bombing and our own ideas about what something's supposed to look like. But then we get trapped by a sense of responsibility. You know, if you're empathic, if you're codependent or empathic in any way, what happens is you look at people and you see their potential. You see who they could be. They see the person that maybe you could support. If only someone had been there for you, you could be there for them. We end up with a sense of responsibility towards narcissists because we look at them, and in order to try to make some sense of the whole thing, we start thinking, wow, they're really messed up. I feel sorry for them. And we look at them and think they'll never survive. No, how would this ever work? They're nuts. No one will ever be with them. And so a sense of responsibility, a sense of purpose that we are put on this planet in order to take care of people who are broken. You know, this is something I've really had to deal with a lot lately. My dad's in the hospital. And when I grew up, it was a very tumultuous time. There was a lot going on. And so, you know, then you grow up, you move away, you live your own life, and you try not to think about these things. You get together for holidays. But then a few years ago, I started a really good healing process. It started with shrimp cocktail at a holiday, welcoming my family in and letting them know that I wanted them to be a part of my life. And we've been rebuilding this. And then now, you know, my dad's been struck down sick. So we're struggling with that. And all of the feelings that I had as a kid, all the ones that I thought I'd left behind, have started to come up. And one of the big ones is safety and responsibility. So on the one hand, you know, possibly if you were a little girl, you felt a sense of responsibility for everybody. I know I did. I know I felt like it was my fault that my dad was in a bad mood, or it was my fault that these things happened to me. And that's just a really normal way that children look at the world. It's just the ideas that we come up with about how something is our fault. It's because our brain isn't mature enough to process it. And if we don't have somebody to take us aside and say, you know what, that's not really true. This is a better version of it. This is another way to look at it. If we don't have anyone who comes to us and changes that belief, then we end up thinking that everything is our fault. And then every time we get punished, every time somebody yells, every time something bad happens, we think it's our fault and it's our responsibility. And so we get into a relationship with a narcissist and we see how much they struggle, and you feel that sense of responsibility again. It's that old pattern, that old habit of, how is this my fault? And a narcissist will gladly step in and say, yes, it is your fault. Yes, you did make me do this. Yes, you made me angry. Yes, you made me say these things, or go out last night, or you made me drink, or you made me use. It was your fault. They will gladly embrace that idea of you taking blame for what's going on. And so if you've got someone in a relationship that likes placing blame on someone who feels a great amount of responsibility for the people around them, it's a match made kind of in hell. Because then the person who ends up feeling responsible, you, ends up still trapped in this cycle of relationship of thinking, how can I change? What do I need to do differently? Maybe if I get dinner on the table, on time. Maybe if I'm not late getting home. Maybe if I could just work a few more hours. Maybe if I could just keep my tone calm and even. We feel this sense of responsibility. Now, if you were traumatized as a girl, and a lot of women were in a lot of different ways, it's easy to get traumatized. just means that really something bad happened to you that was unexpected and you weren't able to process through it. Happens to all of us, right? So those are traumas. Those are things that are still in your body. Those are wounds. And so we still have this wound of when we thought we were unlovable, and we thought that power, that the only way that we would have power is by controlling other people, by people pleasing. Sounds a lot like a narcissist, doesn't it? Of controlling people. But it's how we deal with it. It's how far down the rabbit hole you go. You know, empaths tend to have a touch of narcissism because they're self-absorbed about how to keep everybody happy and calm. But they would rather hurt themselves before they hurt someone else. That's not true with a narcissist. So don't worry about it. Don't feel like, oh no, am I a terrible, horrible human being? You aren't. So we end up in this sense of responsibility. You know, the only way we can feel control is to feel like we're 100% responsible for why our dad's in a bad mood, why something didn't work out, why we got verbally abused again, why we were threatened, why we were blackmailed. It's a natural instinctive reaction. You probably feel it in the pit of your belly. You probably feel it right here in your diaphragm. And it says to you, this is my fault. That's kind of the underlying belief that you grew up with, or this is my responsibility, or I need to do something about this. So that's the second way that a narcissist gets you trapped. They get you trapped because they play into your sense of responsibility, maybe for all of humanity. Maybe you're a healer or a light worker. Maybe you do energy work. Maybe you're highly spiritual. Maybe you've been involved in your church quite a bit. You know, this is a natural, normal, we want to help the world. We want to make things better and be the person for others that people couldn't be for us. It's like a natural, you want to do something bigger. And a narcissist, because they're in that survival mode, they end up taking advantage of that. So a lot of parents then come back and take advantage of their kids. A lot of parents come back and they slip back into that abusive role, even after they get dementia. You know, or even after they start, it's this basic reaction to the world. This is how we react to the world, by being aggressive and angry and manipulative and lying and blackmailing people because I'm so scared. It's the only way that I can feel in control. So a narcissist loves it if you're going to feel responsible and take care of them. This is what they've been looking for. So the third way that you end up stuck in a narcissist relationship is you have what I just talked about, this sense of safety. So we carry with us, we're either out of balance or we're in balance. We're either in our fight or flight sympathetic nervous system or we're in our sympathetic intuitive system. We're either one or the other. And a narcissist is very good at keeping you off balance because it gives a lot of control. Gives a lot of power to them. If you are off balance and they're the ones who put you off balance, that makes them a hero, that puts them in control, that gives them a sense of safety for themselves. But what it does for you is it leaves you with a sense of impending dread all the time. It leaves you with a sense of uncertainty. And so a narcissist is very good at keeping you out of balance. They're very good at sneak surprise attacks, passive aggressive, like we've got one of our listeners saying. Triangulation, absolutely. The responsibility has flipped. So they like to keep us by surprise. They like to keep you off balance because when you're off balance, it means that you're not thinking clearly. When you're in your fight or flight, your intelligence literally goes down. You are less intelligent because now you're just working with a very small part of your brain. You're not working with your intuitive self. And so a narcissist likes to keep you worried, likes to keep you not sure. They'll play with you like a game to see if they can get a reaction. They'll test things. So what happens if I pull this string? What happens if I pull that string? Unfortunately, they'll use scary things to pull your strings. Things like, I'm going to send child protective services to your house and have your kids taken away. Or horrible things like in front of your family, say things like, you were never a good mother. You should stay away from the grandkids. You know, they'll pull these things in order to keep you to get a reaction. Because as long as you're having a reaction, they feel a little bit more sense of control. So you get sort of patterned into being off balance, constantly off balance. What's going to happen? What's not going to happen? How am I going to handle this? Is it going to be a good day? Is it going to be a bad day? Should I take the long way home? What if they get mad if I, take the short way home? How's this going to turn out? Oh my gosh, I hope they never find out about this. You actually tend to start becoming more narcissistic yourself because you start feeling the need to protect all the time, just like they do. To protect yourself because you think the world is an unsafe place. And that's what happens. You end up victimized. You end up the one that's in this situation really suffering. The narcissist has their own issues, but they are an adult and they can figure it out. And they will figure it out if they want to. You, on the other hand, are the one the strings are being pulled and you're being manipulated. The only thing that keeps you trapped is the fact that you don't know this, is the fact that you don't know how to get that sense of dread out of your stomach. You don't know how to get your mind to stop swirling. You don't know how to just let go and let God. You don't know how to do these things. People haven't taught you and they haven't supported you through it. These are the things that we were all supposed to learn when we were kids. We're all supposed to learn. You have permission to calm yourself down. You have permission to stand up for yourself. You have permission to do the things that make you feel good. Those are the things you were supposed to learn. And a narcissist sees that you don't have very good boundaries, that you don't really stand up for yourself, that you're kind of vulnerable and weak. And so they use that. That's something that attracts them, that draws them to you, because it makes you easier to be in a relationship with. It's a patterning. So they did a study of muggers in jail, and they showed them all the same videos of all the same people, and they said, okay, who would you mug and who wouldn't you mug? And to a person, they all picked the same people. They said, yes, that's the person I would mug. No, that's not the person I would mug. And so Narcissist is able to look out because they're always scanning. They're always looking for what's sort of dangerous around them. They can see, they can tell. And then, as I said, they'll test a little bit to find out if you're someone that will let them get away with what they want to get away with. And if you are, then they're very attracted to you. They want you in their life. If you aren't, they really don't want to be in your life. Or if you stand up for yourself, it very well may have a positive impact on them. And I've seen that happen actually more times than I can count. When you start to stand up for yourself, when you start to regulate your emotions and keep that dread, start disappearing that, start getting those wounds and those traumas off your system. When you start taking the time to take care of what you need and listen to what you need, and you start being authentic with how you feel instead of controlling it or shoving it down, or instead of exploding with it and throwing muck back and losing your integrity. Instead, you're able to express yourself in a way that's authentic and real. You're able to express yourself in a way that can actually create change. When they say authenticity creates change, it absolutely does. When you learn how to be you, the version of you that you want to be, when you learn how to control those things, you are actually able to create change in the world around you. You're able to create change in the narcissists in your life. You're able to create change in the people, the would-be narcissists. You're able to keep people from becoming narcissistic because you aren't someone who is willing to be bullied anymore, because you've got the strength and the support and the resilience. Now, maybe it seems like a million miles away, but the difference is I really started to move out of my space when I purposely started to look at or look for people who could help me grow. Hey, good morning, Cheryl. Nice to see you. I purposely started to gather a team of people around me, psychologists, energy healers, spiritual mentors, chiropractors. I made a point to surround myself with people who would support me. And when you realize you're not alone, when you realize you aren't doing this by yourself, when you realize you're not supposed to do this by yourself, you're part of a bigger community, that's where you get the strength. That's where you find that sense of safety. Not because you're finding it in a narcissist, but because you're finding it in the the community, the world community that you're already plugged into, that you're connected into. You just can't see it because you get trapped in the drama. You get trapped in the fight or flight. So that first step is watching these videos and taking those steps out and realizing that you need to respect yourself. The fun thing about a narcissist is many times they will tell you that you are very crazy and that you're the one who needs help. You know what? Good. Jump on it. Go get the help. Go seek the advice, because that's your way out. Your way out is deciding and discovering that there's a different way to live, and not by doing it by yourself. That's how you're going to end up trapped. But by realizing you need to plug yourself into a larger community of healthy people who can help you be strong and will lift you up. And then when we lift you up, after that, you're able to turn around and look at the people in your life. You don't have to keep narcissists around. Absolutely not. But you can look at the people in your life that you want to help, like my dad, or the people that you love, like your child, or even the romantic relationship that you're in. They may be on the edge. You know, if it's worth it to you, you becoming healthy and strong can have it work out. So I want you to keep this in mind. It's not about being right or wrong. It's not about blaming a narcissist. It's about dealing with your weaknesses, the things that give narcissists the toys to play with. And when you start to work with that, when you start to release those things and get support for it, you become the highest version of yourself that you always wanted to be. You stay in that intuitive version of yourself, and you stop being a puppet. You stop feeling unsafe and scared all the time, because you take responsibility for how you feel. Not responsibility for everybody else, because remember, that's how you got trapped, but responsibility for how you feel, because you deserve to be loved too. So, okay, if you're confused, if you're stuck, if you need support, inspiremassage.com, soon RitaHickmanCoaching.com. I'm going to have to jump off because I'm doing a Get Your Sexy Back podcast. So stay right here in 15 minutes, a half hour. I'm going to be with Fanny Olin, who is a sexual trauma coach. And every week for the next who knows how many weeks at 9:15 Central Standard Time, she's all the way in Norway, we're going to be doing a Get Your Sexy Back After Sexual Trauma podcast right here, live stream. And you can put your questions or whatnot in the comments. But otherwise, her and I are just going to wrap. And so that'll be our Wednesday mornings with you. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope to see you again soon, maybe in a half hour with Fanny. And reach out if you need some help, okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye!